right, season preview episode is here for Team 77. They kick off their season this Thursday for their fall scrimmage against Cambridge as they prepare to head into the Corky Kell Dave Hunter Classic at Mercedes-Benz Stadium the following Thursday, August 13th, against the Walton Raiders. I am here with my new co-host, Sawyer Polikov. He'll be helping me throughout the season and will be a part of Inside the Nest from here on out. So, y'all give a big welcome to Sawyer Polikov, or just Sawyer. You can just call him Sawyer. You don't even have to do his full name. You can just call me John as well. So, we got new players. We'll go back over the new transfers, how the roster's shaping up, what's new this season in terms of the GHSA, the playoffs. We got a new playoff structure, and we got new teams in our region. And as always, we will give a region update starting once the season kicks off here. Sawyer, how are we doing today, man?
I'm good, man. My name's Sawyer, sophomore at Roswell High School. It's my first year with Inside the Nest with John. Really excited, looking forward to these next couple of years Inside the Nest. And I'm just really excited for a fun season of Roswell football, Roswell sports, and I just think that it's going to be a fun season to watch, and it's going to be a roller coaster.
Also, this is another update, but this is for the podcast and the show in general. We will have podcasts for football. Expect a preview show every Thursday night from here on out, like we did last year for the season. And then expect our post-game reactions as well as our Roswell Roundup that involves all sports that we cover for fall. And then as we get into the winter and spring and spring semester, we will have a Roswell Roundup as well. So we are going to actually be growing Inside the Nest further than just football and a little bit of men's basketball. We got you covered, Roswell family. So, Sawyer, in comes, just as a reminder, in comes Matthew Schletty, in comes four-star defensive end Jackson Holly, who's now a Florida State commit, as mentioned on the previous episode of this program. Along with, we got additions to the linebacker room and Kylan Fletcher. More on the defensive line with Elijah Thompson from Peachtree Ridge. As previously mentioned, a lot of our transfers came over from the Alpharetta situation, which we're still digging into, but it gave us a new coach to Coach Thompson's staff, our presumed starting quarterback in Matthew Schletty, a new four-star defensive end to go hound the quarterback. And in addition to a defense that, in my opinion, is going to be the strength of this team, considering all the returning production across all levels, how do we feel about the defense heading into the season?
I am feeling really good. You see guys like Jake Smith, playing in the backfield. I'm really confident in him to play well as he did. I had a great season last year. New transfers, the defensive end. And I just think that this defense, because defense does win championships, I think that, we're going to have a lot of stops, a lot of crowd energy, and I think it's going to be a fun defense to watch, and I'm really excited for it.
Fun defense indeed. That was their calling card last year, just being an incredibly opportunistic defense and holding their ground when they really needed to. You think back to that Gainesville game with a massive 4th-and-1 stop. Same with Milton, time and time again, whether it be Christian English getting a pick, and so on and so forth. You add more size to the defensive line. There's no question about that. O'Shawn Walker's coming back for his junior season. You supplement him with Elijah Thompson, who's a mountain of a man, might I add, and then you have Jackson Holly, who will be your fire breather off the edge. But then you also have this multiplicity in the linebacker room with, like you said, Jake Smith, Kylan Fletcher, who coming over from Alpharetta as well. He'll be lining up over gaps and be a blitzer and all sorts of things. The main question here, again, going into the season and why Roswell has kind of been a bit lower on the totem pole when you go across Georgia high school football websites, whether it be Square Atlanta or any Instagram accounts that you may see, is because the questions there's no question there's talent on the offense. It's how well does that talent mesh together and how soon, considering that there's not a whole ton of breaks. The schedule is pretty front loaded. pretty spread out. Excuse me, but you have quality in your non-region opponents, whether it be Walton, Newton, or Archer. That's mainly going to be the key. And honestly, if you end up going 3-1 or 4-0, really 4-0 is what you're going to be aiming for to start the season. That's going to start turning heads.
Yeah, I noticed Drake Kuzi last season had an really great season. He went off last year. I see him carrying the offense as well as Shuddy, big transfer. He's got a lot to prove. I noticed that a lot of seniors last year, Trey Smith, Nick Peel, just
Will
a lot
Campbell.
more. Yeah, a lot more players that just they left, and it does fill a gap in the offense. But we have new players filling those spots, and I think that there's a lot to prove for the Roswell offense. We got a lot of transfers. I think Shuddy is another great quarterback that can fill in. He has a lot of big shoes to fill for Trey Smith. And I just think that we have a lot to prove on offense. I think the defense is pretty cracked down. And, yeah, just the offense, main focus.
You mentioned Drake Kuzi. Dre has reportedly had a great 7-on-7 period here in the off season. Now as we get into the actual season, so off season's done. Starting fall camp and practice has been going on since the end of July, and we are ramping up rapidly here for the start of the season. Again, like I mentioned, kicking off with our scrimmage this Thursday against Cambridge. We will have you covered inside and out for that, so Hornet fans, don't you worry. Yeah, Drake Kuzi, he's going to take over the wide receiver one roles. Jeez, say that 5 times fast. And he had 750 yards and 5 touchdowns last year as the number 2, and I have no doubt in my mind that that's going to only jump and expedite his recruitment and obviously in general his recognition as well as his Roswell offense. Chase Jackson is going to have in my opinion, another great year stepping into that wide receiver 2 role as an underclassman. A lot of this hinges on the underclassmen. Offensive line, I mean, what more can you say? It should be another great year at the offensive line position. Miller Westerfield, who's now a 4-star, committed to Georgia. At tackle, Hudson Rockhill on the other end. And then you have 2 new starting guards. Really, the entire interior of the O-line gets a whole makeover. And so we'll see. That's going to be another question, is how well, while it should be a good core unit, how well is that going to mesh between new center A.J. Norcia, Victor Cruz, I believe, at left guard, and then at right guard, Coy James, who will be getting his first start. Got some playing action last season once the doors were blown off the other team. So it'll be interesting to see that. And from everything I've heard, the running back room is every bit as good as it is last year. You may not have one dominant running back like you did with Nick Peel, but you won't also have to use Drake Kuzi in that sort of gadget role that he was playing last year. And you can focus him on the wide out position. Jaden Allen looks, from everything I've heard, looks to be taking over that running back, the head running back, the lead running back role here starting the season, and then you're going to supplement him with Ian Holbert. Both are just as good as each other. That's just been the story coming out of camp. So with that said, Sawyer, we have a new playoff format.
Yep. Very exciting. New playoff format, very different than last year. There is no more auto top 4 bids, 32-team bracket as well. And just it's going to be very different because you won't see teams like a 3-7 team make the postseason. It's going to be best of best in the postseason, and it's going to be a lot of changes this year. And yeah, I'm very excited to see that.
Postseason is definitely going to make it better. You won't, like you said, you won't have your 3-7 Chambleys being your first round opponent. You will have more of the likes of Archer and other schools like that. Also, joining the 6A classification is Creekside. That will make this classification so much harder, as well as the reintroduction of 7A. That Roswell has nothing to do with 7A, so that's completely separate in and of itself. That's basically your Graysons, your Bufords, your Carrolltons of the world. But with that said, Creekside and Thomas County Central will more than likely be the top dogs in this classification. And then it's up to Region 7 here with Roswell, Gainesville, and Milton to knock them off. Hopefully it's not Milton, but that's just the little Roswell bias coming out there. But that's new. Also phasing out are the new regions. We now have, as mentioned before, Chattahoochee and Seconder are now out of the region. It makes more sense to take Seconder out because, one, that's way too far away to be in your region. And I get it, Gainesville's in the region, but still, that's a step in the right direction. You now replace them with Riverwood and Alpharetta, who are just 10 minutes down the road, and it's not that crazy of a road schedule. And overall, you have more home games this year. It's completely inverse from last year, where, hey, Hornets fans, you don't have to wait until October again to see your Hornets at the Nest, and you don't have to travel 40 minutes which way across the state to go see them play. So,
Yeah.
with that,
Also touching base on. Oh, my bad.
No, you're good.
You
Continue. You're good.
On the playoff bracket seeding, it's going to be top 16 priority. So region champions are placed at the top of the bracket and seeded number 1 through 8 based on their PSR scores. This true statewide seeding, 24 wildcard teams fill out seeds 9 through 32 in strict descending order of their PSR metrics. The seeding is going to be, for example, number 1 seed versus the number 32 seed. So it's kind of like March Madness you see in college basketball. Number 32 versus 1, number 2 versus number 31, etc. Continues going. That's going to be a big change as well. That's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, definitely. I think as a whole, this is not just a football thing. This is happening widespread across all GHSA sanctioned sports. And from complaints I've heard from other, whether it be soccer coaches or anything else like that, like, the good team should be in the playoffs, and you shouldn't just be lollygag awarded a 3 and not so deserving team to ultimately just be a sacrificial lamb in the first round of any sort of playoffs here. So that's changing for the better. Now, One thing we have seen, and because of the speculation and just question to see how fast the offense meshes together with all the new transfers and such, Roswell has been consistently, in my opinion, further down the totem pole and a little bit underrated and honestly a little bit disrespected. I've seen 6-4. I've seen as low as, like, we're below Newton on Max Prep's state rankings, and so on. Granted, valid questions, but also they continuously have Lee County in the top 10. After Team 77 went down to Leesburg, Georgia, and by all accounts from everyone I've heard in clips and audio, they kicked butt. They kicked butt so bad that Lee County started fights, from all accounts that I've heard. And granted, yes, I wasn't there, but these are coming from credible sources. To go with that, granted, one, does having half of your coaching staff come from Lee County to begin with help? Sure. But I also think that it's also Roswell might be, in my opinion, is the better team. So, again, a little bit of disrespect coming your way, but you have the first 2 games are set up beautifully to counteract that and make a statement.
Yeah, I totally agree. There were fights last year from Lee County.
No, that happened this offseason.
Yeah.
Or during the OTA period.
Many sites, sorts, videos that I've seen throughout these last couple weeks. I just think that, again, Roswell does have target on their backs. Gainesville's
yet to beat us since joining the region.
Yeah,
since joining the region in football.
For sure. And, yeah, some teams are out for blood, and Roswell just has to prove themselves once again.
Yeah, it feels very, to give you an NFL analogy here, it feels very Tampa Bay Buccaneers-ish, where you constantly pick them and just say, hey, they're not going to win the division this year. This is going to be the Falcons' year. This is going to be the Panthers' year. This is going to be like the Saints to take a step forward. And they end up winning the division anyways. And so far, under Thompson, that has been, granted, only 1 year, has been the same similar story. So, and beating teams that you don't think will necessarily be credit. Yes, I am guilty of picking Gainesville to beat Roswell last season, and I highly, highly regret doing that. Yes, Gainesville does have a new coach and the former Grayson head coach in St. Tavius Bryant. Yes, that'll be a struggle. Yes, Milton got 2 elite transfers from IMG Academy, but hey, that's just how it goes, and they get their quarterback, Derek Baker, back, Tennessee commit Derek Baker back for the season, so we'll see how this goes, and honestly, how well they perform at against Gainesville this year will somewhat predict my vibe towards the Milton game at the end of the season. But with that said, Sawyer, we got Mercedes-Benz kicking off here soon. We got Corky Kell. We will get back to this here in a moment after our break. Alright, Sawyer, we got Team 77's season kicking off here very, very soon. Starting off with Walton at the Benz and the Corky Kell Dave Hunter Classic. Just for a feel, because we're going to get into this later next week when we do our preview show. How are we feeling just going into this? Considering that, yes, Roswell did beat Walton last year. Did it take a Ballant Veros Marty walk-off field goal to win? Maybe. But also in that game, Roswell held a considerable lead. Another thing they take into consideration, the Peacock brothers continue just to get better. They lose Noriega Thompson at running back, but they made a run at the end of the year and during the playoffs. They took out McEachern, for God's sake, who blew doors on them in the Corky Kell last year. And then nearly took out Valdosta in their quarterfinals. So a valiant effort by Walton, and they were turning kind of on that upward trajectory here. What are our just early impressions of that Corky Kell game at the Benz?
I am very excited. I don't remember the last time Roswell was played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's going to be a fun game.
That would be 2017.
2017, yeah.
Which is when they were in the state title
game.
game.
Almost 9.
Yep.
It's going to be a fun game, fun atmosphere. It's going to be electric. On 3 does have Roswell beating them 32-28. They have them winning this game. As they do in the schedule, they have them going 9-1. Only losing
Roswell?
1, which I'm surprised. Yes. On 3, they have them losing to Milton. That's it.
That's a generous season prediction.
That's what I thought.
For month 3, and that's been honestly one of the most favorable things I've seen, because usually it's just been, all right, Roswell loses to Walton, Roswell loses to Gainesville, Roswell loses to Milton. Gainesville and Milton I get, because they're just perennial state championship contenders. But Walton I felt was a very far stretch, and just like as a little tease, shall we say? I have the floor at 8-2 for the season. That's where I'm at. 9-1 more than likely is probably going to happen, and then 10-0. Again, that's going to be the. There's no Buford on the schedule,
which is great. That's awesome.
There is no murder game, but you do have top 50 ranked opponents in the state per Max Preps, and Walton, Newton, Archer, Gainesville, and Milton. So those are going to be your biggest key games of the season, and how well you set yourself up for that new playoff format. But moving forward, Sawyer, have you gotten a chance to look at the schedule?
I have looked at it. I see us with a lot of huge games. Obviously, Milton, Walton, opening day. It's going to be crazy. I see us same as you, 8-2. I do not see us going 10-0. Sadly,
I agree
Um,
with on 3 personally. I think this is going 9-1. I think you probably drop either Gainesville or Milton. I wouldn't be too
yeah,
upset about that, um, considering there's a lot of new key components. But yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
yeah, I see them going roof 9-1, floor 8-2, worst case scenario 7-3, which hopefully does not happen. We have the Walton in our first week. That's a huge game. You have Gainesville at Ray Manna Stadium, which is really good. It's home. You are playing Milton though at Milton High School, which a couple miles away. It's not that big, but it's gonna be crazy.
Travel well. Travel well.
Yep.
I
Um,
I'd also not. I'd like to point out to not overlook the second game on the schedule being Newton. They have the number 1 running back in the class of 2028 on their schedule, and they are ranked ahead of us. I say we like we're on the team, but we're not. We just covered them. But Newton's ranked ahead of us. They're ranked 12th in the state per Max Press. We're ranked 19th. They have, Kevin Hartsfield at running back, who has offers from all over the nation. He's a 4-star per 24/7. Their recruiting rankings, but the number 1 running back in the class of 2028. That'll be the key to that game, and obviously we will dive deeper and more into these games as we progress throughout the season. But Walton, Newton, Gainesville, and Milton, those are your 4 big games. Those are the ones that you have to win. If you can go 3-1, that's a successful season, considering all the new additions. I'd like to argue that their ceiling's 10-0.
I could see that.
They beat Gainesville last year. They weren't supposed to.
Yep.
You have in my opinion, an improved defense, especially on the defensive line. Another season under their belt for Nick Daniels and Christian English back in the defensive back room. Yeah, you're probably going to be starting a new safety opposite of Ian Faust. But overall, you bring in the transfer guys that you brought in have starting experience. Especially if you had, like we mentioned, with the addition of Jackson Holly, and you still retain on the offensive side, you still have Sean Smith, and he'll be lined up more outside the season. But we'll see. I'm assuming because as you wait to break in Chase Jackson and get him more up to speed with everything, which I don't think he'll have a problem with. I mean, hell, he's a starting point guard in basketball. The dude's fast. I've seen him. So, going through the schedule, let's work through this 1 through 1 and give 1 by 1 and give an actual prediction. Let us say, and I'll give you the last season. We'll play a little over under as well. Where on earth you thought they were in the rankings from, or I guess their schedule from last year and how they finished record wise. Walton, over under 6 wins last year.
You want me to guess or
Yep, this is a guessing game.
over? Over. I think
Just
yeah.
over at 7. Like
Yeah.
I said, they lost to Valdosta. This is including playoff matchups last year. All right, Newton, over under 7.5.
Over.
8. Yep, lost to Beaufort in the second round. Etowah, this should be one of your cupcake games. Over under 1 win last year.
Under.
Incorrect. They went 3-7. Anyways,
Wow.
the point of the gist of this game, they're outside of 3 matchups between Etowah, Johns Creek. I mean, poor Johns Creek, man. They've got to get their situation together. They nearly became the first high school team to not score a singular point all season long, which in my opinion is ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. They scored a singular field goal, and that came in the last game against Chattahoochee when they got smoked again. Riverwood has not been all that good. Neither has Etowah. Granted, Roswell, the past decade or so, when they've had trips to go to Etowah, they usually don't turn out well. So make sure to come out and support your Hornets. And I think Thompson won't have that issue. I don't think. So, Alpharetta. Well, thank you, Alpharetta, for our presumed starting quarterback, our 4-star defensive end, and one of our starting linebackers in Kylan Fletcher. Let's break this all down. Walton, win or not? Let's just get to the nitty gritty of this.
I think we're gonna go to Mercedes-Benz. I think it's going to be an exciting game just like last year. I do not think it's going to be another game-winning kick. Shout out Ballon for us, Marty. I think
Shout out Ballant. Shout out Ballant.
Shout out Ballon. I think Roswell's got this one 30-20. On 3 has
30-20.
28. I think it's 30-20.
Okay. Okay. All right, Newton back at the nest. I think this is a win, and I agree with Walton. I think Walton's going to be a close-ish game. Newton, same sort of deal. Be a game late in the fourth quarter, but I think Roswell gets another one here. The Hornets get another one.
Yeah. Robbie Roper night. It's gonna be a good game, but it's also gonna be a little emotional for Roswell.
Oh shoot, that's Robbie Roper night.
Yeah. Robbie Roper night.
I did not see that. Wow. Okay.
August 28th, 2026, 7:30, Raymond Stadium. It's gonna be a fun one. A little emotional, but I think we pull out with the win.
Yeah, stopping Kevin Hartsfield's going to be the issue there, or the primary focus of that for the defense. Like we said, he's the number one running back, according to several ranked recruiting sites, or at least 24/7 in the class of 2028. Excuse me. Archer, I think you get a more comfortable win. As well, so you're 3-0.
Yeah, 3-0.
Ideally, and then after that you face Lanier at Lanier as your first regional matchup. Last year, what ultimately flipped the switch for me, saying like, hey, this is going to be a state title contender, was shutting out Lanier when they've been usually a pretty good program. I'm like, whoa, this is different. Will this happen again? Probably not. Will it probably be a closer game? Yeah. That'll be kind of a litmus test for me. Granted, region-wise, after one, are you looking ahead towards Gainesville next week? Two, are you gassed from the four you just played, whether it be Walton, Newton, or Archer, or Etowah? That'll be the, like, hey, are you on your stuff moving throughout the rest of the season? Because afterwards, yeah, after Gainesville, you got 3 tune-up games, in my opinion, heading into Milton. So.
Yeah.
Gainesville and Milton's where this season's going to come down to ultimately, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like it usually does. All right, Lanier, win?
I believe so. Going to Lanier, going into enemy territory, I think we get another W. And yeah, I just think we move on to another win, 5-0.
All right, that's 5-0 now. Gainesville at home in the nest, or at the nest.
I think this is going to be one of the 2 games of the year besides Milton, but this is probably going to be the best game Raymond Stadium will have all season. October 2nd, 2026, 7:30 game at home. It's a lob up
it's
for
hard.
me. We went into Gainesville last year and did beat them, but they can do the same this year. You know, players have left from both teams.
Gainesville still has Nigel Newkirk, who sliced and diced you to bits last year. Granted, Nigel Newkirk is just one of those running backs that you'll see and just be like, you can only hope to contain him. You can't stop him, and that'll be its own issue, as well as Kareem Hewley's still there at their starting quarterback, Clemson commit. So it is like Gainesville's still Gainesville, and they got one of the best transfer coaches in the state after losing Coach Niblett to Colorado. So that being Colorado Buffaloes with Deion Sanders and all them. I think he became their new tight ends coach. Anyways, I wish I could defer my option here to pick this game because I'm not gonna say which. You know, I'm gonna cop out here. You're gonna lose either one of Milton or Gainesville.
Yes, and we'll be very lucky to win both, but I don't know.
Very lucky to win both. You're going to lose one of those to Milton or Gainesville. I think this is a 9-win season, 9-1, another successful year. Will you win the region? Maybe. Depends. Milton has a really, really tough schedule. They go out of the state a good bit, twice. Gainesville's schedule is even more hectic. They face Buford. They get... They go, I think something I saw, they go up to Illinois to play a game. Like, yeah, that's...
Wow.
Yeah, that's So it'll be interesting to see. And granted, it doesn't have any effect on the region record, but those are still games that I think one Gainesville more than likely win. Maybe not Buford, because they're just set up so well, and they've been a really excellently run program, and they'll have something to kind of have that little taste in their mouth after how the season ended last year with having their state runner-up title taken away, I believe, after they played somebody in the Langston Hughes game following the Brunswick brawl. So,
Yeah.
9-1. That's where I stand.
9-1. I will say it again. Roof 9-1 for 8-2. Well, worst case scenario.
10-0.
No, worst case scenario, we lose both Gainesville and Milton. If we can just get one out of those two games, that's a win in my books. I think we shouldn't have any other problem with any other schools. Walton's going to be a throw up as well.
Newton's going to be a difficult. Newton's going to give us a handful.
Yes.
I think, truthfully, this team won't lose more than 3 games. This will be 7-3. It's floor, ceiling, 10-0 heading into the playoffs. So.
Easily. You got 5 home games, 4 road, and then 1 neutral site at Mercedes-Benz. I think the toughest road games probably going to be at a rival, Milton High School.
There's no question that it's there, because the other road games are at Lanier, at Alpharetta, and at Etowah. So
our best home game for sure is going to be against Gainesville on October 2nd. That's going to be a fun one. And yeah,
sure.
I agree. Floor 7-3, roof 2-0 or 9-1.
All right, well, that's where we will wrap up our episode here for our season preview for Team 77. Once again, our first football action is this Thursday against Cambridge at the Nest for our scrimmage. Then following up a week from that Thursday, or this Thursday, will be our Corky Kill Dave Hunter Classic kickoff game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium against the Walton Raiders, and a rematch of last year's matchup that featured a ballant for us, Marty, as we so mentioned, walk-off field goal. Now, for this show, we will have our post-game reactions and Roswell Roundup show for the week for all of Roswell Athletics for the fall semester this Saturday/Sunday. So be tuned, stay tuned for that. And we will have you covered all throughout this football season, whether it be post-game recaps, sideline interviews. We got you all covered here on Inside the Nest. For Sawyer Polikov, I'm John Schneider, and we'll see you this weekend.
Thank you.